evening to all. On behalf of our research team, I am very happy to present this research title, Fibroblast Growth Inhibitory and Anti-Inflammatory Effect of Curcumin Extract, a cell culture study. As an introduction, I just want to say a few words about the inflammation. So inflammation is a protective response to protect the inner cells from the invading bacteria as well as from the noxious stimulus. Usually this has happened within a period of 1 to 2 days and it will be completed within 2 to 4 weeks. During the initial phase, there is an activation of the macrophages and that causes various inflammatory mediators to cover the cells, underlying the cells, and also to fight against the invading pathogens and noxious stimulus. So this occurs in 3 stages. Initially, there is a release of certain enzymes and neutralization of the foreign substances, and second mechanism is belong to the protection of the inner layer, and third one is the covering of the denuded area or the injured area with the granulation tissue. So in this process, if you see, the majority of the effect is done by the third step, that is called by the activation of the fibroblast. So fibroblast, when it is activated with the help of macrophages with a substance which is called lactate and also various growth related factors, initially it will try to produce the cell growth, replication, and it will try to promote the angiogenesis to supply nutrition to the injured area, and third one to cover the injured area with the promotion of consumption of various material related to the extracellular matrix to form the complete granulation tissue. So this is the normal step that happens between day 1 to up to the stage of 4 weeks. But this process is a normal one. But when there is a repeated activation of the fibroblast, that becomes a chronic inflammatory condition that leads to lot of recent clinical backup, something like chronic hepatitis, chronic bowel disorders, and it is seen in chronic gastritis, and also it is seen in chronic myocardial infections, and other one is chronic obstructive pulmonary lung disease, and other one is called PCOS, insulin resistance syndrome. There are so many clinical scenarios are underlying with the chronic inflammatory response. That's the reason we have selected this title. And currently we have plenty of anti-inflammatory agents in allopathy, starting from the supermost important group of drugs which are called corticosteroids. And here we have taken the methylprednisolone as a standard. And there are so many other drugs which are called as non-steroidal anti-inflammatory agents which are preferably blocking the formation of prostaglandin, which are the initial substances that carry the pain sensation and also having the role in the inflammatory mechanism. So there is a big group of drugs which are very specific for the cyclooxygenase. Some drugs are non-specific for the cyclooxygenase. And if you think about this author's gathering, the curcumin, it is not a new substance. It's there in the era for so many years, and it has lot of clinical application. And there are so many research references says that curcumin has anti-inflammatory activity, especially by blocking the IL-6 and IL-8 and tumor necrosis factor alpha. And that is the reason it is applied in Ayurveda like rheumatoid arthritis and many other situations which is related to the inflammation. But here in this study, we have an interest that we want to compare this. In allopathy, we say that corticosteroid is the supermost, the ideal drug as an anti-inflammatory agent because it blocks the premier formation of arachidonic acid, and there is no formation of inflammatory mediators either in the form of a cyclooxygenase system or in the form of a lipogenase system. Whereas when we compare the curcumin, majority of the reference says that it works through the cyclooxygenase system. So hence we decided to proceed with the cell culture model to compare the potency of the anti-inflammatory activity of the curcumin with the standard methylprednisolone. So here our main objective is we develop one important thing that is called curcumin successive extract in our laboratory, and that extract was used in the cell culture model to compare the anti-inflammatory activity, especially to compare the potency in relation to the standard methylprednisolone. There are so many literature that supports for the anti-inflammatory activity of curcumin, and it's also available in Ayurveda as a drug for the treatment of various conditions that having underlying inflammatory process, especially the chronic inflammatory process. And if you see, in allopathy, when we see the basic reason why there is a repeated persistent inflammation, one of the major concern is the fibroblast, because usually in a normal healing mechanism, fibroblasts will get back to the normal stream once there is a closure of the injured area. But when there is a repeated insult or when there is a repeated exposure in terms of like a bacterial pathogen or because of chemicals or any type of stimulus including smoke and environment pollutant, this will be activated further and further, and it causes repeated chronic inflammation. And that becomes the persistent inflammation, and recently they have identified that tumor necrosis factor alpha is the one of the important mediator for the chronic inflammation, and that this is the important step actually shared by curcumin as a part of anti-inflammatory agent. And in methodology we made one thing is like the curcumin successive extract by using the standard Soxylate apparatus with the help of chloroform and alcohol. It is like successive extract. Initially it was treated with the chloroform and immediately it was subjected to the 99% of alcohol. We made the extract, and that extract was used in the serial dilution with a dose escalation method to compare the dose anti-inflammatory potency by using the L6 cell line, which is obtained from the National Center for Cell Science, Pune. And we also did the comparison of the availability of the curcumin that present in the compound by comparing with the standard curcumin which was obtained from the high media mobile. And here if you see the methodology, it is a cell culture design and it's a routine technique we have followed. We have used the standard DMMM medium with a supplement like 10% serum and amphotericin, gentamicin, streptomycin, penicillin to protect against the infection. And we are supposed to do the cell inoculation less than 1000 cells per well, and we have taken almost less than 700 cells and it was inoculated in the 96 plates, and finally it was allowed to grow for about a period of 24 hours. After 24 hours the medium was changed and new medium was added along with the prednisolone and curcumin with the various concentrations starting from the 10 to 1200 milligram. Initially up to 100 milligram there is no response. So with the dose escalation method we started with the 100 to 1200 milligram. So after 24 hours when this material, when the plates were inhibited, after inhibition when it is subjected to the procedure which is called MTT assay, and we have able to get 1% inhibition with the curcumin and methyl prednisolone. So this is the methodology, this is a standard technique what everybody will follow in the cell culture one. And here one of the important thing is the medium was discarded after the 24 hour of inhibition, and the formosan blue what it is present in the cell, it was dissolved with the 50 ml of DMSO, and the optical density of the inhibited growth was measured at a wavelength of 570 nanometer, and after that 50% of the inhibited concentration was calculated by Graphot Prism software tool. And this picture that represents the main advantages of the curcumin which is done as a successive extract. Other one is the standard curcumin from the high media Mumbai, and this is the RF value, and this slide expresses that almost both are potent and it is equal in its response. And in this main second objective we see the anti-inflammatory activity with the curcumin and prednisolone from 100 to 1200 milligram as a dose escalation method. When we have seen this, or when we compare with the anti-inflammatory activity of prednisolone as a growth inhibitor agent, curcumin shares 50% response of the anti-inflammatory activity of the methyl prednisolone. And here I just want to say one thing. Here the myoblast line, when they grow further, they will be converting into muscle spindles, and the muscle spindles will be having a flimsy outline which is fibroblast, and this fibroblasts are having lot of matrix metalloproteins, which is main site for the mechanism action of corticosteroid as an anti-inflammatory agent as well as an immunosuppressive agent. So because of that process we understood that there is a growth suppression and there is a 50% inhibition with the curcumin and 100% response with the methyl prednisolone. So in this way we just want to conclude that both drugs are having anti-inflammatory role, and curcumin shares 50% of the anti-inflammatory effect of natural corticosteroid, that is the methyl prednisolone. Thank you so much.
It's a very simple question. What does your paper have to do with Ayurveda?
See, actually, sir, this is the curcumin has lot of anti-inflammatory profile.
Yes,
and
yes. So you're saying that curcumin has something to do with Ayurveda?
Yeah.
I tell you, curcumin has nothing to do with Ayurveda.
Okay, sir.
All right? Curcumin is a chemical substitute for modern drug. The great thing about Ayurveda is that it recognizes that we're dealing with a complex system, and it treats a complex system with a complex formulation, because you cannot treat a complex system without damaging it severely by a simple chemical isolate. The great thing about Ayurveda is that it actually uses complex formulation because, for example, when you take Haritra, it contains many variants of curcumin. One of those variants, which is a methylated form, is 100 times more powerful than curcumin as an antioxidant. If you have 1% of your variant, which you've eliminated by your chemical procedures, you've doubled the effectiveness of the Haritra. So, by actually giving a patient an isolate chemical, which is widely believed, and I entirely accept your logic, it's widely believed to be the active ingredient, you failed to reproduce the full power that an Ayurvedic formulation given as an Ayurvedic formulation can have. So I'm asking this very cruel question because I want the whole audience to hear it. It's not you who needs to know, it's the entire audience. What does your study have to do with Ayurveda as actually practiced? You're showing a beautiful mechanism, I recognize. But for me, this is not a paper about Ayurveda. Okay?
Thank you, sir.
I just want to not sort of add to what he said, but a different perspective. I think your paper should have been titled as curcuma extract or turmeric extract, because you have not taken pure curcumin. Even the successive solvent extraction you have done. First of all, I must tell you, please stop using chloroform.
Okay, sir.
It is a carcinogenic material. Chlorinated solvents are out from lab. Nobody uses today carbon tetrachloride, chloroform, because it's very toxic, and no studies are being published if you have used chloroform as a solvent. What you have actually done is you have removed the fat content from Haritra by using chloroform and then extracted with ethanol. Even that ethanol which you have used is 99%. So it's not even close extract of what an Ayurvedic physician would use, either a water or an aristam or an asava type. So there is a fundamental issue. So your title suggestion is you should title this as not curcumin, but as curcuma longa extract or whatever turmeric extract. And the role of curcuma extract and even pure curcumin as an anti-inflammatory is already known. So is there something new that you have done in your study which is different from what is known?
We thought of comparing with this drug because it is both drugs are used in the case of rheumatoid arthritis and many inflammatory diseases. And if you think about the steroid, it will have its own adverse drug reactions. We cannot give it for quite long time.
You tested it in comparison to methylprednisolone,
Yes.
and along with that. That's the addition.
Yes.
Tell me one just very question that keeps bothering me. When you do cell line studies and you have a curcuma extract in your pot, the yellow color is likely to interfere with all your OD determinations. How did you solve that problem? Most of the cell line studies, people have severe problems because most of the Ayurvedic herbs, when extracted, will have a light brown, green, yellow, red and all kinds of colors, and those colors interfere with the optical density that you will measure here. So how did you solve that problem?
Actually, Actually, because of this extract, it was like light, faint yellow color only. It was not that strong yellow
When
color.
you say as a scientist faint yellow, the MTT assay that you have done, the OD would be measured at something like 270 nanometer or maybe 500. If you are measuring at 500, that yellow would itself give you about 30 or 40, 300 or 400 absorbance. So this assay is coming from what we don't know. So there could be an error in your method. Please go and check back. I am not saying that there is an error. There is a possibility of an error because of the color of curcuma that is present in the extract.
I have one more question.
Yes.
It's well known that microbiological processes have very large variability. If I start a cell growing, I can never be quite sure how much product I will get from a reaction. I know because the vaccination production laboratories in Bangalore are run by my friends. They always have to monitor production because they never know what the quality or quantity of product is going to be from any given startup, from any given production run. If you're doing quantitative experiments, how can you be sure that your different results weren't due actually to the natural variability in growth processes? I ask this because it's a question that's been really concerning me over the last 2 or 3 months, and I'd very much like to know how your laboratory deals with natural variability.
Actually, one of the another important thing because we have to compare the same results with the addition of certain markers like the fibroblast markers. When we add, still that it will become a more qualitative result than this original result. So that recent elastin or vimentin is not suitable to this cell line. We are supposed to use the recent fibroblast marker something like TE7 because it expensive and we could not reach it. We stopped the result at this level. Suppose if we added that marker, it will be somewhat very effective result than at this level. That is the only explanation I can able to say right now.
But if you do comparison studies like this, do you start the batches at the same time or do you start different batches at different times?
It will be in the same timing only.
That's very helpful.
Thank you, sir.